Yeah, everyone, this is Thermite, and this is One Piece Film Red. This is my redirect and discussion. If you want to watch the actual reaction, please check the very first link down below. It's a mega link, it's free, this isn't a paywall situation. It is simply there because I cannot host it on YouTube, because I don't want my channel to get striked. So please check it out. At the very end of it, I was kind of wiped. I didn't have time to do a discussion, so I figured, all right, I will do that in the redirect. So go please check out that reaction. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you have a lot of fun watching it, and then come back here for the discussion. All right, you should be back from having seen the reaction. Was it good? Let me know. Leave a comment. Go to my server. Anyways, going into the actual discussion, I should have written notes, but I'm not feeling super well, so I'm just going to talk it out, and hopefully this will work. I'll try not to blather on too much or go on too many tangents, at least in the first half. Like, I'll go through the movie, I'll talk about stuff that is directly in the movie, and then if I have, like, theories and speculation, I will bring that up, like, in the second half. Or I'll try to, keep them separated a little bit there. So, starting off, I said at the very end of the movie that this was my favorite One Piece movie, and I think that's still accurate. It's tough, and I've realized, thinking on it, it's tough because I can't directly compare a lot of the One Piece movies in terms of, what they do good, what they do bad, with, the My Hero movies, for instance. For better or worse, they kind of feel like the same movie 3 times, sometimes. There are different things in each one. They are, they're different, but there's a lot of elements that feel directly comparable. Whereas, the One Piece movies all have, different views of the world. Usually, in the same way that the arcs tend to be, different views of the world as, symbolized by our main villains, so are the One Piece movies. And they tend to, especially, the films, the, Strong World on, except for Stampede, they're very emblematic of, honestly, even Stampede, I would say, is, a movie that is defined by its antagonist. Stampede's thing really is, what if you saw some really cool shit? And that is Douglas Bullett's whole deal. It is, what if I was really, really strong? But everyone else, has a little more meat on the bone. And I really like how this movie starts off, and how, this then informs Uta's whole deal. Let me go through the others really, really fast. Strong World is a contemporary of The Pirate King. It is the movie that, it presents a rival to Luffy as Pirate King, in a very clear, this guy sucks ass, this guy hates weakness, he cares only about strength, and that's not Luffy's deal. But he is, very pirate-focused. Film Zed is about Zed. Zed is, both a Marine and a criticism of the Marines. He is a neo-Marine. And, that movie is way more emotional. It's way more, Film Red, honestly, in that it's very much, this character's path throughout everything. Whereas, Strong World and Gold, not quite. The main villains do have some pathos. They do have, a deal and all that, but they're not really the ones pushing everything along. Whereas Zed and Uta very much are pushing the world along. It is very much they are, the ones actively trying to do this very big thing, and we are, invested in their emotional journey. Gold with, of course, Gil Tesoro is, it is a criticism of, the wealth stuff in One Piece. It is the, both someone who has been completely, deeply hurt by the world government, by the Celestial Dragons, by, that oppression, while also, emulating it via his own, hoarding of power and gold, and his, his excessive, all that stuff. With all of that, I really wasn't trying to metagame what I thought the movie was going to be about, but even so, I really wouldn't have guessed the theme of this movie, that it is about all the people being trampled, that it is this hard, if you live in this world, as, the opening says, it sucks. It just sucks. It's cool if you're a pirate, I guess, or if you are insanely strong. But if you're just a person, you are being pillaged by pirates, you are weak, you're helpless to stop any natural phenomenon that's happening. If you happen to live in a island that just has a wacky bad thing that happens, or just extremely strong animals, you're kind of just fucked. And if you are being protected by the Navy, like, you still have to give tributes to the Celestial Dragons, which is going to take, like, any excess money that you have, which then makes your, it keeps you oppressed. It keeps you from being able to, like, have a lot. And then if you are someone who has a lot, you're probably in bed with the world government and whatnot. Or, like, you're very isolated, in which case, like, the rules of the world don't quite apply to you. And I do think that is, it's reflected in, like, the scope of Uta's broadcast, that she affects, I believe, like, 70% of the world. So it's very easy to think of the remaining 30% as being, like, Wano and other such places where, if they're not watching stuff on a snail transponder, or if the transponder can't be, like, hijacked by Tot Musica, then it's pretty likely that, they're not going to, like, they're already not the people that are reaching out to Uta. Uta herself as a character, really interesting. Like, I think this phrase really sums it up. I love that she is, like, the anti-Pirate King. More so than someone who is a rival to becoming the Pirate King, or someone who just wants to stop Luffy, or who doesn't believe in Luffy. She is someone who actively hates pirates and simply wants to create an age where there are no pirates, where Luffy cannot be the Pirate King because that's not a thing at all. Like, a world that is a dream. And I won't go too into this, or I'll save this for later, but I do think that is a theme with a lot of the villains of One Piece. Like, Luffy is very much someone who is striving for his dream, even though it is a ridiculous dream, at least at the very start of the series. He's made a lot of progress. But a lot of the villains are people who have given up on a dream, or they've settled for something less. And that is kind of what Uta's going for, but in, like, the biggest, most bombastic way. It is the big, reality cannot be good for these people, so I'm going to create something better than reality. I'm going to create a dream where you can be happy. And of course, that ties into, parasocial relationships and idol culture and all that stuff. Stuff that I don't think I'm quite qualified to, do a long talk on. I'm sure other people have, had that read on film right in a much better way. But I do actually like that this movie tackles that from the perspective of the performer. I feel like most series that tackle, like, escapism via idol culture do it mainly from, like, fans, or, like, people who are obsessed, or people who are being influenced by the idols, and then we get some idol focus. Whereas Uta's whole plan is, very much a weaponized, I want the world to be obsessed with me, not in an egotistical way. Like, that's the thing that makes it so interesting. She truly is not doing this for her own, like, for herself. She has some personal motivation, obviously. But this is a genuine, she thinks this is good for the entire world. She wants the world to be better, and she doesn't think there is a way for that to happen apart from this scenario, apart from putting everyone into a dream that is either an eternal dream or, perhaps even a dream that lasts until she dies. Like, I do think she, intended it to be a dream that continued on after she died due to, the power of Tot Musica. But there's that layer, in the background of, well, even if she dies, isn't that still better than having to live in a shitty world like this? Yeah, very happy Jinbei was in the movie. Like, he didn't do that much. A lot of the Straw Hats didn't get to do too much, but I get it. Like, again, this is the Uta movie. Like, I would much rather focus on fleshing out her and Gordon and, like, the whole situation on this island than, like, giving more plot, like, more character beats for the Straw Hats. Like, especially with the other various characters who happens to be here. Like, I would much rather have all of them, give all of them a little to do, as opposed to, like, giving the Straw Hats more to do, because, how do I put it? With the movie, it really is diminishing returns. Like, sure, it might be cool to, like, have Brooke do a little more because this is a music movie, or have Jinbei do more because he hasn't gotten to be in a movie as a Straw Hat yet. But, like, how do I put it? There's only so much time you can give to each of them that will then return you going, oh yeah, that was a really good Jinbei moment, or that was a top 10 Brook moment. As opposed to, like, just focusing on what makes the movie special. Uta herself, fantastic. Like, I'm truly in awe at... I mean, first of all, I was truly stunned by the big reveal of, like, oh, this is all a dream, and that's how all this shit works. Like, that's how she has the super elaborate idol thing. Like, I figured that, like, all, like, the beer and stuff that she was creating, like, all of that was probably illusions. I figured it was, like, Dazzler from the X-Men, where, like, Dazzler can sing and then turn her, like, the sound waves of her music into physical light. I figured it was something like that. Like, Uta's fruit could create illusions based on her songs. But the idea that all of this is, it is a dream world, it's such a cool way to create that sense of, when you are obsessed with a idol performance or something, and it feels like you have been taken to another world. It's something I'm very interested in as someone who has definitely, fallen prey to that multiple times, and not necessarily with idols, but, with other stuff, with, light gambling or light, like gotcha games and stuff where there's this very clear, like, you can get into a flow state, even gaming, honestly, like the stuff where the entire world and all your actual problems fade away, and for a little bit you can just focus on this thing. The world is simply a world in which you are, shooting people with a gun and you need to be number one. Or the world is just this place where either you make it big and you get all this money or you don't. Like, even without, her powers are very much a metaphor for what she was doing anyways. This idea of everyone being able to watch her performance and just let the world fade away. Just believe that, at the very least, something this beautiful exists. And I don't have to think about how shitty everything else is. By the way, I do love how direct Uta's songs are. I'd be very interested in an edit of the movie that I know Amelie replaced, she did covers of all the songs, but they're not in the the English dub of the One Piece movie or of Film Red. And I would like to see an edit of the dub where those are inserted. Not how do I put it? Not in order to understand it better, because I'm very good at reading subs while also watching everything else. And also obviously she's changed stuff around. I've read the more literal translations for all the songs, but there's something about just that inherent feeling of not having to read the subs. Even if I'm very good at it, it's still detracting a little bit from the experience. There's still that tiny bit of processing I have to do. It's not a big deal for most anime, because also in most anime there's not that much animation per second. Whereas the musical numbers are so gorgeously animated, there's so much going on, they're taking up all of your energy. The moments I need to flick down, understand what's happening in the subs, then flick back up are still taking away from a little twitch, a little movement, a little flash. I'm genuinely surprised we never touched on what the hell is going on with this formation. We see it in the real world, we know it is probably stone, actually. It looks more like bone here. But also, it very much looks like a rib cage. And with Tot Musica being here, I'll speculate more on Tot Musica once we get to it, in the movie as I'm going through it. But it feels like there's something here. And just in general, more so than the other One Piece films, where those are very much this person probably exists in the world. This movie, I think, has more things where that buzz my brain, that make me go okay, so that is a thing. That is something I should be thinking about. This feels important. And for whatever reason, these structures feel very important to me. They could literally just be, the rib/framework of a big music hall. Actually, when we got to the flashback, I need to see what these were in the flashback. That might have been what these are. But they also just look so much like a rib cage. God, I love all the little Uta symbols, all the Uta-moji that she has. They're so cute, and I appreciate how many they are, how interesting they look. She just feels very, very properly branded. She's not a lot of idols in various fictional properties where they have one symbol and one song, and that's really it. And you just have to go, okay, yeah, they're a big celebrity. I fully buy that Uta is a gigantic celebrity. I fully buy that she could do a long multi-day concert and keep on coming up with new songs and whatnot. And that we only saw a fraction of what she could sing. But yeah, I do love the song for just it's very clear, clearly lays out this is what she wants to do, and at this point everyone is on board with it because it sounds good. It is just this very clear escapist. Yeah, let's lose ourselves in this world. God, all the Straw Hat costumes are so good. Frankie's I dunked on a lot during the movie, but it's fine. It's fine. Uta's whole existence in the movie is I am just in awe at how well she works for a character who violates so many common sense rules of what you should be allowed to do with a character. She is how do I put it? she has extreme self-insert energy in a way that works. Like, she is Shanks' secret daughter that he's had all this time. She is the world's greatest singer and a celebrity in a form that doesn't exist apart from her really in the One Piece world. Like, there is another idol in the One Piece world. The one from Phantom. I brought it up in the discussion. What is her name? But anyways, like, in the way that Uta is an idol, she's the only one. Like, in that she is live streaming via transponder snails to the entire planet. But, she is, like, a pop star that can bring in all these people, even if they're not physically here. Like, all of them would want to be here at the very least. She is Luffy's secret best friend. I'm very glad she was not the secret fourth sake cup. I was worried about that. That might have been the thing that pushed me over the edge and made me go, okay, this is too far. This is too far. But I'm glad that was not the case. And that, like, she doesn't really have a connection to Ace or to Sabo. It is just a, like, connection to Luffy at an age we've rarely even seen. Like, this is pre-Scar Luffy. Like, this is, like, Shanks visiting the islands, but, before Luffy didn't have the Devil Fruit at this point, right? No, he didn't. Because, he gives himself the scar, and then he eats the Devil Fruit, and that's why, he hasn't been scarred since. Except for, of course, the giant scar from when he got punched. You know what I mean. But yeah, like, despite all of that stuff, it works so well because, like, Uta has the charisma to pull it off. That truly is it. Like, when people don't like a character who seems way too important, it's because they don't own their importance. Whereas Uta does feel like she has such insanely powerful charisma. She does feel like the most important person in the room at all times. She does feel genuinely like she does deserve all of this love and attention. Speaking of all this love and attention, God, there's so much brulee in this movie. I said it enough in the reaction, but god damn. I love that, like, it happens in the manga itself, but this movie really doubles down on the concept of all of her older brothers love her so much. But I'm glad that, like, we didn't do a big Kaido focus in this arc. I really thought we were going to. Like, just because Kaido is more recent, I'm very glad that, no, it was more just Big Mom Pirates focus. Not even Big Mom herself, just the Big Mom Pirates. We got a little Big Mom, but you know what I mean. There is just this inherently funny framing in that, like, there are a bunch of other characters here, but unlike Stampede, where it was just like, here's a big pirate festival, and that's why all the biggest pirates you can think of had to attend. This, like, Film Red is specifically which pirates are Idol fans, and if they're not Idol fans, someone on their crew has to be an Idol fan. Like, Law doesn't seem to be a big fan of Uta, but Beppo is a giga fan, so of course he had to come. Or like here, which of them? I assume Brule is probably the big Uta fan. But to be fair, I think Oven is also, like, he's got big fanboy energy. Sadly, we know Sword was here because they were here to keep an eye on Uta, because they, had an inkling about Talk Musica being awakened again. But I do like the idea that Kobe and Helmeppo were also just here because they were big fans. It just occurred to me, is Utahime supposed to be a pun on Otahime? Like, of course they're doing it in a, like, that is, Hime is, and, like, she's a streamer, she's an idol, but also, that might be it. Like, we already have an Otohime, so I doubt they would, like, point it out. But I can see it. Also, Uta's backing band looks so good. Oh, these guys. Let me just do a quick rundown of the things that are making Uta go nuts. Like, number one, she's been abandoned by Shanks, of course. Number two, she knows that she is the reason why this entire island was annihilated. That she awoke, taught Musica. She didn't mean to. It wasn't her fault, but she understands. She knows the deal there. She's trying to hide it, but she does know the deal. But also simultaneously, she does hate Shanks. She hates pirates. Like, she wants to create a new world. Number three, very isolated. She didn't get to go anywhere else. Gordon really should have, like, let her see some other kids. Like, come on. I get why he didn't bring more kids to the island. Like, I can appreciate the idea of, like, well, it's still dangerous here, so therefore, it's probably safest to, just be here with Uta in case Talk Musica awakens again. But again, why did you keep Talk Musica on the island? Put it somewhere else. Give it to Shanks. Then on top of that, of course, she's eating the wake shrooms, which increase your aggression. But also, like, separate from that, she's just been up for all this time. Like, even without the wake shrooms inherently making you more aggressive and delusional and whatnot, she's just sleep deprived. Like, there are so many layers to why I can excuse her being very erratic. And even then, like, I appreciate the progression throughout the movie in that she is very soft and sweet early on, and then she gets more and more and more aggressive and despondent as the movie goes on, and it's reflected in the songs. And they're so good as well. Like, there's actual, like, rage and growling and violence in the songs while still keeping them, like, within her vibe, but, like, the genres do shift. I'm very glad about that. Like, I was genuinely stunned to hear how aggressive Backlight is. It's interesting that there was a wake shroom in here. Like, is that just a, like, emotional beat? Is that just a, like, Uta subconsciously thinking about the fact that she's eating wake shrooms, and so it ended up in some of the food that she gave Sanji to cook? Also, the fact that the wake shrooms have bunny ears is, I guess, just, like, vaguely thematic, but there's not, like, an actual connection there. It's curious, though. I mean, for all we know, Tot Musica could have, like, caused the islands to start sprouting wake shrooms all that time ago, like, in response to Uta. It's possible it's been trying to, like, cause all of this to happen from the start. Right, I didn't even mention that on the list of reasons why I can forgive Uta for basically anything. Tot Musica is also a literal sentient evil song that has been manipulating her from the start. So, I can give her a break. Yeah, it is very interesting that, like, it doesn't seem like she consciously decided to do it, but she did, like, subconsciously give the Straw Hats this, like, very prominent place in the middle of the entire stage. I suppose because, like, something inside of her wanted to see Luffy again, to maybe see Shanks if, on some level she recognized the Straw Hats. And yeah, like, this is a, eternal lovely paradise. So I'll take back some of what I said in the reaction around this time, where I was like, if I were in the like, you said this was going to be a constant concert. Do I really need to see you do an eating contest with Luffy? But also, to be fair, Luffy is, like, the fourth emperor. If the question is, do I want to see my favorite idol do an eating / about to be hit with a dog contest with the man who might become king of the pirates? The answer is yeah, like, I do want to see that, actually. That does sound great. Right, it was like a bull. It's like an Uta branded bull. And yeah, I do love the characterization here of, like, this keeps on happening. Like, Uta's beaten Luffy in so many things, but, it's all implied to be, through similar ways of tricking him. And she has literally done this exact thing multiple times before, and he has continuously accepted every single time. But, like, that is Luffy's deal. Like, there is no malice here. And he is the kind of person who would just keep on falling for it because, A, that is just who he is. B, at some point he should be good enough that he could do this without its, like, without having to change. Incidentally, I just love Uta's design. Like, the red and white, it's sick as hell. Love that she's not, like, super over-designed, but she has some, like, nice asymmetry that, makes her just very fun to look at and whatnot. You can't see here, but of course she's got, like, the straw hat symbol, but it's so badly drawn. Like, that's such a good way to have the reveal work. Like, it looks like some sort of, like alcohol gourd or something. So to then do the big, no, this is Luffy's drawing of the Shanks' hat. It's in plain sight, but no one would ever think it. I love the, like, cosplayability of her design. That, like, the bunny ears that are also, like, long flowing locks, like, it's just very clear, very easy to recognize, very distinct. And even though she is not actually, like, a bunny mink or anything, she does do the thing that a lot of, like, cosplayable furry designs do, of, we're gonna hide the the actual ears and then create fake ears. Like, she's always wearing these headphones that cover up her actual ears, and then you can envision that her hair loops are her actual ears. It's just really well done. And I do think, like, once we get into her being more erratic, being way more angry, like, all of that then reflects on her design really well. Like, it's a design that, because it's very simple, when you draw it with more lines, or you draw her being way more intense, it feels like a sucker punch. It's a real, like, oh god, oh fuck, oh shit. Aw, tiny little pre-cut Luffy, so cute. But he does have a bandage up here. He's still hurting himself. You gotta make it clear. Yeah, this whole flashback is super cute. I haven't seen it yet, but I did see when I was checking the wiki that the tie-in arc for the movie is like a flashback arc. So I'll check that out at some point. Probably not on the channel, but I'm curious enough. I want to see more Luffy and Uta shenanigans. Incidentally, let me just skip ahead a little bit because it is insane to me looking back on the movie. Like, it is a very musical movie. There are tons of songs in it. All the songs are really good. Like, there's no dead air songs. I've listened to the Uta no Uta soundtrack, the Uta's songs album that is also available in Canada. Thank God. But anyways. It's wild that like half the unique songs in the movie are played within like the first 30 minutes. Like, once we hit Backlight, we've gotten Invincible, we've gotten the first song, New Genesis, the lullaby is, during the flashback, and then she, like, does a reprise of it later. And then, obviously, Backlights. But yeah, after this point, we only have, like, 2 or 3 more unique songs, but it doesn't feel like that. I'm not waiting for a new song to hit at any point. It feels so natural. And there's so much else to the movie that I'm not, like, waiting. / there is a layer of like, if you front load stuff a lot, then you're thinking about it even during the like quieter parts of the movie. Can I get the exact frame? There's like this battle wiggle that she does that I love. Yeah, it's like right here. Yeah. Oh, that wiggle is so good. It's the fact that she is dead serious doing it that gets me. And also, it is her 1v10ing the entire Straw Hat crew. I mean, I think I said the exact same thing in the reaction before these guys showed up. Like, it's technically not 1 if you're, like, spawning, like, troops, but, they're puppets. It's fine. Also, just for, like, generic guys in the background, I do love their designs. Again, very standout in a very backgroundy way. They feel like background dancers in, like, the way that they're very, like, their colors are very simple. They blend in, but they do have a very obvious, like, note theme to them. I'm always surprised they never were, like, background dancers in one of the songs. Oh, yeah, this moment felt kind of weird in that, they kind of just splashed Luffy and he's like, oh, I'm so fucked up. Like, we haven't seen that in ages, but also, again, this is a dream, and, like, we're seeing literally, like, seawater floating around as notes, so I can see it as a, like, it's extra sticky water that's really, really clinging to him and really sapping his powers. There's also a bit where, like, before all of this, where he falls into the water and Uta, like, pulls him back out, and that, I guess that also makes sense if, this is all a dream, so, her power supersedes the water within the dream. Because as far as I can tell, I'm pretty sure that shouldn't be allowed to happen. Very recently, I saw an episode of the One Piece anime where, it's the bit where Big Mom is, like, falling from the sky, she splashes into the water, and then Prometheus, like, picks her up out of the water. In the manga, I'm pretty sure Prometheus just manages to, like, grab her before she hits the water, but in the anime, they decided to give it a little extra flair by having him literally go into the water and grab her and pull her back out. Like, there's a lot of playing with the rules in this movie, but not that much. And I appreciate that. Like, even the final act is, like, a fight inside a giant void. And that's honestly very difficult to do well. It's the kind of thing where, it gives you infinite freedom to have characters float around and do interesting things, but there's also not that much structure. It's hard to, like, see cool stuff happening in the background or whatnot if it's all just one big void. But I appreciate that the movie does a good job of, like, playing with, dream stuff without it being too, we can do literally anything, or too dream logic-y. Oh, this squad. She fixes the hat by the end of the movie, but if anyone had the right to do some permanent damage to the hat, I do think it is Uta. Like, something I've literally only seen in, I believe, a chapter of Saiki Kuso no Sainan, where Saiki, like, recreates Luffy's hat, is, like, he also maintained the stab marks from when Kuro, I believe, like, stabbed through the hat all the way back in Usopp's arc. And I've always wished that was a thing in the series. Just, it's the classic, I love seeing, like, a room that changes over time, or, like, a design that, picks up new pieces and whatnot over time. But yeah, there is something very interesting about, the hat meaning something to Uta, both in the sense of that, that's my dad's hat. But also, I hate my dad, but also, I have the symbol of my dad's hat that is important to me, not because it's my dad, but because Luffy drew it. Like, I do think if she kept the hat, it would have been a thing where she kept it in order to remind herself of Luffy, like, in the dream world. Like, presuming that she had to end up destroying him at some point. Because, yeah, like, she does say, I don't need you in my new age, while looking at the hat. So, like, it does feel clear if she did end up killing Luffy, she would have kept it around as, like, a memory of him. Luffy in the Ball is such a weird version of the classic, we need to keep Luffy occupied for, like, half the movie so he doesn't fix the movie, because he couldn't really do much else in the movie. It is more of just a, like, where is he now? But the fact that it is Bartolomeo just rolling him around and making him extremely sick for, like, half an hour, it's wild. I do love, like, the Navy showing up in the real world for what a switch it is in the movie. Like, the movie up to that point is so vibrant, even when things are dark, even when things are getting a little sad. Like, even during Backlight, for instance, it is dark, but in a very, like, Idol concert dark. It is contrasted with big lights, neon and stuff. Whereas, when we finally see outside, when we see what Elysia looks like, it hits so hard. Both in a, man, this place is fucked up, but also in a, like, oh, wow. Like, it feels drab, it reminds you of what Uta doesn't want everyone to have to live through, but also it is reality. This whole sequence is so unbelievably cool. Like, just the fact that Uta can puppeteer all these people, including their devil fruit abilities. The one thing I wish we'd kind of seen, but I get why we didn't do it, is her puppeteering the Straw Hats. Like, we do get to see her puppeteer Law, and that in itself is extremely cool looking. But, we could have done a really cool fantasy fight. But also, again, I think that if she were to do that, it would then have to be the entire focus of this sequence, right? Like, you can't have the Straw Hats fighting, like, being controlled by Uta as a side thing. God, this whole sequence with, like, the very clear, like, 3D models, but being used to create 2D silhouettes is, it's so cool. Incidentally, actually, sorry, one last jump back. There's one nitpick I have with Crunchyroll's translation of Backlights, which is, which line is it? Yeah, this line. Where, like, I get why, I actually don't know whether, like, I know Chopper's voice actress translated, like, did the scripts for Amelie's, like, covers. I know Amelie does, like, the same compliance science thing. But I wonder if that's at all connected to, like, Crunchyroll subs, or if they just decided to do the same thing. Because it's a weird translation. Like, it does kind of make sense, but the literal translation of this line is, I'm not tired anymore. Or, like, not tired anymore, like, then not, if you wanted to, like, however you want to do it. That, I think, is, for most things, I'm fine with a more liberal translation, especially with songs. It's very hard to craft, to make songs work while also getting across the exact intended meaning. But this line, like, this is supposed to be a hint that, yeah, she's not tired because she's been eating the wake shrooms, because this is a dream world. Like, the dream world thing is set up in the first song. It feels really weird. Like, also, a little more nitpicky, I do think the lines are a bit too flowery here, when Backlit is very much a, like, straightforward song. It is a, like, I'm not sad, I'm not upset anymore, I'm just angry, this is the song where I'm angry. I think it's somewhere around here. It might be, like, a bit afterwards. When we get the scene of the Navy just shooting a guy and then Uta, like, freaking out and trying to save his life. That also, I love it. Like, I really appreciate that. As far gone as she gets, at no point does she want to murder people in a way where you can see it as killing. There's always this layer of, like, she wants you to stop, or she wants Luffy to just give up, or she, she's fine with this world not having Luffy in it, but she never completely confronts the idea of, I'm going to be committing murder now. Like, even with, the dark side of what Tot Musica might mean, even if it is just, like, the dream ends, then everyone is dead, like, she doesn't confront it directly. It's not something she is processing, it is not a part of, like, her intent. That is, I think, like, a very important thing. For villains that do similar plots, I feel like the big turn morally tends to be when they go, I don't care if they die, it's better if they die. Whereas Uta never does that. That's the thing lingering in the movie, that could happen. But, she is not processing that. Like, even when she says, like, isn't the soul more important? I do think she genuinely thinks, even if I die, like, due to the power of Tot Musica, my soul will still remain here. All of our souls are going to remain in this world of music, so it's fine. What is going on with Chibi Sunny? We never got an explanation for that. Oh, even with the general, like, right before that, we have Beppo, who got super tiny. This doesn't happen to anyone else. Like, Uta very specifically turns everyone else into, like, inanimate objects. But there are, like, two characters where she turns them into kids. And then there's the Sunny, who she also turns into a kid. But, like, what's that have to do with anything? What do you mean? It's not like the Sunny really does anything in the movie. It feels a little weird. It's not a complaint in my mind, because, like, I don't know what I would be complaining about. It's not like I wanted the Sunny to have a big moment in the movie or something. It's just sort of this general, like, it feels like an idea that was thrown out there and it just kind of lingered around. And at some, maybe at some point it was supposed to tie in more, or it was supposed to have, like, she was supposed to turn more people into kids or something, but it didn't quite line up. So it's just sort of this thing that's also happening in the movie. Oh, let me say this now, because this is actually running a bit longer than I wanted to, but I do want to say this. I find it really interesting that Tot Musica has runes in it. Like, when Uta is singing, like, the chorus of it, like, as far as we know, like, the original Tot Musica seems to be, like, the backing song, and definitely the runes that she is chanting. And those are, like, Norse runes. It's curious. Because, like, we see these giant horns here as well. Like, last week, I think I had the big brain blast of, oh, the Giants probably don't wear horned helmets, just as a reference to the Vikings or because it's cold or whatnot. I'm 90% sure they wear horned helmets because, as we know, the ancient Giants had horns. Those could either be, like, literally horns from ancient giants that they've, like, been passing down via their hats, or, like, they carve those hats in remembrance of, like, the ancient giants, the fact that in the past they used to have horns. But, like, there's just this layer of lore to the One Piece world that it's never been fully touched on. But just, the fact that, the oldest things in the world of One Piece are also the biggest things. And the things where it's, like, it's impossible for people to have made these things. The world has this layer of, like, it really does feel like the Giants used to be much bigger of a force in the series. Or, like, in the worlds. So, like, does that tie into the Void Century? This song explicitly has runes in it, and it seems to be this really old magic, like, just straight up magic, unlike anything else we've seen in the series, like, in canon. It's not like this is canon. Like, it's in the, like, half-canon world of all the One Piece movies. But, even the films have been pretty clear about, like, we're going to do some devil fruits that, even these might be real, and the characters are all definitely real. But, like, before that point, like, before Strong World, we had a lot of movies that were very, like, here's just some straight magic. Here's just some weird shit that'll never come up in the actual series. And this feels the closest that we've gotten to something like that in the newer films. But it's because of that. It's because the films are more, like, tied into, Oda's vision for the series, that it makes me think, like, is this, like, does this have ties to the actual Void Century? Did the ancient giants create this song as a way to protect themselves or something? Was this perhaps like an exit plan at some point of, like, well, if the world gets destroyed, then we'll just go into a dream world and we'll be fine? I'm also aware now that Tot Musica is, like, it's supposed to be the Tot from, like, Todd from, the German death. So it is, like, death music in some way. But in the reaction itself, I did think it was like the Tot from Totland. Couldn't quite link that together. I can't believe Charlos showed up in this. I mean, he showed up to get dunked on, but still, it was such a, like, okay. It's also just very funny that this is the moment where everyone goes, okay, we might have gone a little too far. Uta, wait a minute. Like, you are making the entire world your enemy, to which she is like, it's fine. And yeah, I do like that this is a genuine, like, this whole sequence after she punches Charlos is a genuine shock to her, where everyone starts saying, well, I do want to go home. Like, I do have a life that I enjoy, and she's like, oh, this is genuinely not something I was expecting. I really thought you guys were going to be fine with this. Because, again, it does make sense. I can definitely see it, like, from my own perspective. As much as I keep on saying I'd be down with this, I might not be. It's very possible that at some point within the endless, festival, I would go, maybe I want to go to sleep. Maybe I do want a little time out, actually. Yeah, the fears, doubts of men, given the name Tot Musica. These golems also, like, I'm not, they're fine. I'm not, like, super into them, but, that also makes me think Void Century, with what we know now about, like, the Void Century having ancient technology like this. Nami just bullying Brule into letting them out is such a mood. Like, I love this sequence. I love all the Brule moments in this movie. It's so good. And yeah, this whole endgame with Tot Musica as the Demon King it's so interesting. It's so, like, yeah, it just feels so throwbacky. It feels so like this is just a thing that feels disconnected from anything else in One Piece, but in a way that makes me, like, it doesn't make me go, and we'll never talk about this again. It does. It is burning in my brain. It feels like something that is going to have more context later on. It feels important, even if it is, just in this movie. So rifling through the flashback, I don't think we ever see the dome, so I can't tell if it always looked like a ribcage or not. Like, that could be the remnants of, like, the castle, maybe. No, we see the castle. We see the castle. And yeah, like, we don't get a ton of Shanks, but I'm glad, I'm glad we get the amount of Shanks that we do get. And I'm glad we do have this limiting factor of he doesn't want to kill Uta. He is here to save Uta. And, like, he and the crew are all fighting people who are completely innocent people who he does not want to kill. And in fact, they need to make sure the Marines don't kill these people. Like, there's so many layers to why they can't go 100% all out. And then, in the fight against Tot Musica, they do get to go out, like, move after move. It's a good middle ground, because obviously you don't want, like, the biggest Shanks moments in the series to be a movie that is not the manga. You want to save stuff for the manga itself. You want to save stuff for, we just got a big Shanks chapter in the manga, but even then, we have not gotten to, like, the inevitable Luffy fighting Shanks, or Shanks, like, fighting Blackbeard, or, something that big. Same with, and this is one that I feel a little more sticky with. I might have to jump forward a little bit to see if I can even get a frame of it. But yeah, like, Gear 5 in this movie, the fact that we barely see it, that's also a compromise I can kind of understand. It's fine. It is, I get that, the anime has been fantastic. The anime has been, like, there are scenes in the anime that are higher quality than, a lot of the scenes in this movie. And so I get why you would want Gear 5's debut to be enormous and extravagant and, not something that you would just, blow on a quick scene in a movie. And why you also wouldn't want this movie to be a big, like, Gear 5 showcase. But it feels like it's a hard compromise. If I had to write the movie, I'd probably do the same thing, honestly. It just makes sense. You're giving people a little taste of what they want. You're showing off how dangerous this threat was, and that Luffy's taking this extremely seriously, like, especially since this is a post-Wano arc. It would feel like he's not taking it seriously if he didn't use Gear 5 at the very end. But also, it does have this layer of, like, yeah, but you just get a tiny little taste of it. Same with Shanks. Like, we don't really know anything that Shanks can do. And so giving him, like, the fire blade, it feels like this real, like, we're just gonna, we can't show you too much. We can't show you what he's really like. So here's just one slash you can kind of interpret however you like. The fight itself, I don't have a whole lot to say about. Tot Musica's design, interesting. The idea of, like, attacking it in both worlds at the same time, interesting, but not, like, super hype. The collection of characters that were fighting together, it was fine. It was all fine. I enjoyed it a lot. It was super dope. It wasn't like like, that's the thing. It's not as, like, extremely cool looking as Stampede, nor is it as, like, emotional as some of the other movies, because I don't care that much about Tot Musica the entity. I care about Uta, and also, like, I'm glad we didn't have an ending that was the ball punching Uta in the face. But yeah, like, it was fine for what it was. Also, Tot Musica kind of has, like, a horn thing going on with its hats. Could be tied into the Giants. Who knows? I think that's basically all I have to say. I do think the ending of this is so strong. Like, Uta passing on, but like, her album living on, and us being able to see, like, in the credits, everyone getting her album, and it, being able to give people solace. It's bittersweet, but in a really, really strong way. Yasop, of course, leaving, not communicating with Usopp. He's only allowed to talk to his son if they're in separate dimensions. Oh, I was about to forget. But I've said this multiple times, I have not seen the color page that Oda described as being the climax of Film Red, so let me do that real quick. That was chapter 1065. Interesting. Viz, just, like, auto jumps to the last place I was, which kind of sucks when I'm, sharing my account with Donuts. But Yeah, I was just talking about the the horn stuff and the giants, and it just occurred to me like, oh yeah, this robot is designed to look like a Viking, and it also has big horns and stuff. Hmm, maybe the giants made it, but okay. So yeah, I can see how this was, the climax of the movie. Like it is all the pairs. Of course, Uta screaming, big black wings because she's being, possessed by Tot Musica, the tears streaming from her eyes as she screeches. And to be fair, these aren't actually like the pairs that are attacking at the end. They are just like groupings of characters. Because yeah, it wasn't like Frankie and actually no, was it? Was it Frankie and Oh, right. I was going through the movie really quickly to try and find the pairings. That doesn't matter that much, but I forgot about this. Right. They did find Uta in a treasure chest. And I don't remember where I know this from. So, minor spoiler that I don't think is in the manga. But I when I saw this, I did recognize how do I put it? Like right after this, we get a flash of we get this flash, which is a clear, like, it's Shanks remembering that he was also a treasure chest baby. But I don't remember where I know that from. Like, it might be the One Piece podcast. It might be, like, a theory or something that someone threw out at some point. And, like, One Piece Film Red came out a while ago, so it's possible that it was just, like, discussion of this frame. But, like, the implication is clearly supposed to be like, Shanks was found by Roger, and then, Shanks was found by Roger, and now Shanks has found a child, and he's like, all right, I guess this is just how we do it. We're treasure babies. But also, I am aware of the, theory that maybe Roger, kidnapped or, rescued Shanks from God Valley. That could also be a thing, I don't think Uta has a significant parentage. We might do that. There might be a connection there, but I do actually really like the twist of she's not genetically related to Shanks. But it is the classic, like Luffy's brothers, where they are still family. There is still a very clear connection there that transcends any of that. But also, we don't have to do the question of who is her mom? Or it is, if you're asking that question, you also have to ask the question of who is her genetic dad? Or alternatively, you don't ask the question and you just accept that the entire red-haired pirate crew is her parents, collectively. And that Yasov did in fact abandon 2 children and go completely no contact with them. Also, a friend of the channel, Gumu, told me to check out chapter 1055 for a little Easter egg. Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's Uta. That's definitely Uta. Oh, that's actually really interesting. Having it be, Luffy, Momo, Hiyori, Uta. And Uta as this, transition out. This last lingering memory that he is thinking of in this moment. Because if Film Red happens, if we try to fit it in anywhere, it is post-Wano. So it is, after Luffy and the crew set sail. So this would be, this wouldn't be Shanks thinking about the movie. It would be him just remembering his daughter. But yeah, I think I talked about this enough, so I won't go over it again. But I do love, how do I put it? This panel is jogging my memory on that. That Uta is trying to create a new era. That so much of what Film Red is about is the themes of the entire series, but just slightly askew. It is this idea of I want a new era without pirates in opposition to the Great Pirate Era. It is something that just inherently makes sense. It is this idea of I think we as an audience love One Piece in part because of the escapism of it, because it is this world that is it resembles our own a little bit, but it's very much different, and that is what Uta is trying to give to people. She is giving them the experience of what if you could also be in a better world, a more interesting world, a more bright and sunny and fun world where things don't go wrong, and where as long as you believe in me, I'll fix any problem that comes up. That's my final thing that I will state in reference to the movie is for the movies, I think I'm pretty sure the official statement by Oda is the movies don't happen, but the characters exist from the movies. And then I believe it's a fan theory. I don't think this is a official thing. It's just something people talk about a lot. The idea that no, actually the movies do happen, but just not with the Straw Hats. That's a bit looser. That's a bit flakier. The thing I was saying before Film Red, because I thought this would be a really fun way to, like, flesh out the rest of the supernovas. My theory was the other supernovas are the ones doing the events of the movies. So the movies do happen, but instead of the Straw Hats, it's one of the other crews. But Film Red, as I said in the reaction itself, you can't do that. It's impossible. There's no way. But I have been giggling to myself, trying to think up, like, what is the funniest, like alternate canon for this? Like, if Film Red does happen, but all instances of Luffy and the Straw Hats are replaced with someone else, my current bet is, of course, Apu. I do think it would be unbelievably funny if Uta's best friend was Apu. Because also, it would bring up one thing that never, like, something that didn't need to come back up in the movie, but I really thought we were going to resolve the movie with Luffy singing, because he brings it up at, very early on. If Apu did a counter song at the end, and he teamed up with Shanks. But yeah, especially post-Wano, we're kind of running out of supernovas, and there's very few where it could, like, it could be Bonnie, but you'd have to really squint to make that make sense. Or, like, it could be Blackbeard, but I feel like if Blackbeard teamed up with Shanks in order to fight his daughter, we would know about that. Ultimately, if it's anyone, at the very least, it ain't Kid. I do think Chapter 1079 makes explicitly clear Shanks has no love for Killer and Kid. And I'm honestly really glad that I watched the movie right after reading 1079. Because, like, I do think it is actually a really strong contrast. Like, the movie is about the question of, like, is Shanks a giant motherfucker? Like, did he kill everyone in Elysia? Like, do you trust him? Do you not? And I do think 1079 makes it very clear what kind of person he is. That he is someone who protects the innocent. That he is someone who is very pro-pirate era. And he's pro, like, people who suck at being pirates. But, that doesn't mean they deserve to instantly die. He does want to protect them. And he does want to, like, see through their dreams. Like, it is because he knows that Luffy is strong that he doesn't coddle him the way he coddles, like, some of the other members of his crew. Or why, he doesn't even let Luffy be on his crew. It is a very clear, no, you are, you have the capability to be free. You can do it on your own. You can become the Pirate King. And if that's what you want, you can't be under me, because I'm a rival in that sense. It is, it's still something that Uta would be against, but it feels like, the best possible compromise to being a pirate while still having a kind heart and having a warm soul and, not doing a lot of awful stuff. Whereas Kid and Killer, we don't really see that many instances of it, but Kid is, like, we were introduced to him as, like, he's an asshole. He just murders people for no reason. He is destroying his way, up until Shabadi, and then after that he's been continuously destroying stuff. So having, like, a Kid fight Shanks just feels like this very natural conclusion of, Kid is everything that, Shanks is not. Kid is the kind of pirate that, like, Uta thought Shanks was. And, like, he is the kind of pirate that Uta thinks all pirates are, like, necessarily. So just watching the movie makes that fight even more satisfying to me, like, on a narrative level. Anyways, it's been a while. This is way too long. This should not be this long. Ultimately, I just wanted to say I liked the movie a lot. It was a great movie. I feel like I probably missed a bunch of things. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to whatever this is. Let me know your thoughts on the reaction. The reaction is much better than this. If for some reason you decided to listen to the discussion and then check out the reaction, I promise the reaction is way more fun than this. But I had a really fun time doing this. So I shall catch you on the flip side. Bye for now. Yeah, yeah.